Greetings and welcome to the December 16th, 2025 Truth and Taxation hearing. And I'll turn it over to the Executive Director of Finance, Simone Zunich.
Thank you and good evening. Good evening to everyone that is attending tonight. This is our annual Truth and Taxation meeting. It is for the 2025 payable 2026 property tax hearing. It's for the school budget year of July 1, 2025 and through June 30th, 2026. It is prepared by our Superintendent, John Magus, myself, Simone Zunich, Executive Director of Finance and Business Services, and Michael Hoheisel, who is the Managing Director of R.W. Baird. We do have, are we going to be able to publish this at all? I don't know, maybe not. I thought maybe we could put it on there. Cast it? Okay, I'll just keep going. The requirements of the Truth and Taxation hearing. The 25 pay 26 proposed property tax levy that I'm proposing tonight will give us our proposed changes, and it will show us our specific purposes for our changes. We will be showing you our current year budget and the distribution of revenues by revenue source and spending by program area. And then we are allowed to have public comments and questions, but I ask if anyone does have a question about their parcel, please send email to me your parcel ID number, and then I'll work with St. Louis County to resolve any questions for you. So we'll start. The school district levy and school district funds. The school district levy is calculated in the fall of 2025 and are payable and collected in 2026. Thank you. We are on page 3. Okay, right there. Thank you. So it is kind of confusing. We calculate the levy in 2025, but we won't collect the money until 26. But the revenue is for the 26-27 school year, so FY 27. And with our school district funds, the general fund levy is based on student enrollment. The community education fund levy is based on the population of the district. So it includes basic community education revenue, youth services, and after-school revenue. It includes early childhood family education, the early childhood family education levy is based on number of children under 5 years of age in the district. So all those calculations come into play. Next page, please. Thank you. The debt service levy is based on annual debt retirement schedules. The annual levy is what is needed to pay principal and interest payments of bonded debt plus 5%. A calculation is done annually by the Minnesota Department of Education to determine the level of fund balance. Number 3, debt service fund may be composed of voter-approved bonds as well as non-voter approved bonds such as abatement, alternative facilities bonds, capital equipment notes, capital facilities bonds, and long-term facilities maintenance bonds. There's a lot that goes in there. So how will your payable 26 school taxes be spent? Well, in the general fund, it's approximately 40.6%. That provides funding for district regular and special education, instructional programs, including but not limited to support services, transportation, instructional, athletic, and operational equipment, technology, and building maintenance. The Community Education Fund is 1.5%, and that is funding for community ed programs, early childhood family education, and school readiness. And then our debt service fund is 57.9%, which is the levy for repayment of principal and interest on district debt. So that all total equals 100%. So the school district levy is changing by $3,103,000. I can't even say it right now. You see the number, or 6.9%. The MD levy limitation and certification report for taxes payable 26 is page 30 of 39. That is all available on the MDE website. And those numbers corroborate these numbers right here. So the school district budget, current school year for 25-26. That is in front of you right there. What I will do is I'll go to the revenue on the top to the far right, 185,805,311. And our general fund is broken down for you to the left. Then we have our food service fund, we have our community ed fund, we have our debt fund, we have our gifts and bequests. Those are just approximate numbers. Sometimes we get wonderful donations, then those add up. And then our internal service fund is Fund 20. And down below, we have our expenses to coordinate with all the revenue on top. So overall, the budget balance for this year was balanced to $1,181,886. Now, we've been able to, you can go next one, thanks. We have provided wonderful pie charts. I think these are a great way of looking at everything. So the revenue by source, so our state aid is 62.26%. That's the largest chunk of our aid. The federal, which is the orange pie, is 6.93%. Our levy is 23.28%. And then our miscellaneous local revenue. That's any grants that we get. Let's bear in mind too, with the levy that we just are proposing to you, we did increase our average daily membership by 75 for our estimates. And then, of course, I don't know if you remember, but last year we did have a $1.9 million negative adjustment in our levy, so that's why we're seeing a swing this year. If we go one more, by fund, you can see that the revenue by fund is in the general fund by 77.02%. Food service is a small sliver of 3.31%. Community education, 4.43%. Our debt fund is 15.07%, and our gifts and bequests are under 1%. Next page. Did we? Okay, I think you can go one more, please, Anthony. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So our general fund expenditures by object code. So we have done this information for you by salaries, benefits, utilities, travel, supplies, equipment. Our debt service is not part of our object code, and gifts and bequests. So those numbers correlate with the overall budget that was prepared for you. We want to go the next slide, please. This is a very important slide for everybody. Our salaries and benefits are close to 85% of our budget. Next slide. We now broke it down for you by program, so you can see how all of that affects the programming here. Okay, the next slide, please. So here we have our general fund program expenditures. This is another great slide. So our regular instruction, which is in the minty green there, is 42.95%. If you go to the special education instruction, is 21.41%. I won't read the other little pie shapes, but I wanted to show you where it's mostly regular instruction, and then the other half, or half of that, is special education. Thank you. Next one. Here we put some local financial reminders for you. In May 14th of 2024, we had offered a capital projects levy. Question 1, the capital projects levy of 4.262% times the net tax capacity of the school district. This levy would raise an estimated $5.29 million for taxes payable in '25 and be authorized for 10 years. The additional revenue would be used for technology improvements district-wide. The result failed. And then the next page, please. Can you continue with our reminders? On November 7th of 2023, we offered a bond refunding and capital projects levy. Question 1 was not to exceed $21 million, refinancing the District Series 2019A and 2021B certificates of participation for general fund operational savings, estimated savings of $2.6 million annually. That did pass. We thank everybody. Question 2, the capital projects levy of 4.687% times the net tax capacity of the school district. This levy would raise an estimated $5.29 million for taxes payable in '24 and authorized for 10 years. The additional revenue would be used for technology improvements district-wide. That question failed. So that was on November 7 of 2023, and we went back on May 14th of 2024. Interesting information here. I want to point out that we have roughly 96,000 voters in Duluth, and we see that approximately 30% are showing. Okay, so let's go talk about, yes, page 18, oh, the one above it, please. There you go, that one right there. So, and I want to talk about our operating levy that we have right now. It was approved in November 6th of 2018. Question 1 passed, question 2 passed, and question 3 failed. So that is up now. It's a 10-year operating referendum. So go to the next page and we'll give you more details there. So that new authority was effective taxes payable in '19 and be applicable for 10 years. So the last year of collection for the current operating levy authority is taxes payable '28 FY '29. And in taxes payable '25, this categorical authority generated a total of $5,708,350.92 in revenue. So we will have an operating referendum that will need to happen by '28. So here we wanted to give, this is really small print, I apologize for that, but we wanted to show how our enrollment, we're getting back to where we were 10 years ago. It's pretty exciting. So the far left, 2013-14, the row that says total ADM, and it's a black bar, it's like 2/3 of the way down. That's the number we base our funding off of. So it was 8,353.01. Well, if you go to the far right to 23-24, we're at 8,236.74. So we've made a great swing. It really went down in 2021, and 21-22 is going back up, and it's going up, up, up. We are just now getting our numbers for FY '25. And we are going to be very close to that 8,236. So we're looking for final numbers.
And can you, I think sometimes people make the assumption that when we have enrollment increase that it automatically impacts us immediately. Can you address that? Of course.
So we do not see the funding for almost 2 years on any based enrollment. And that goes for our special education department as well. So the monies we receive now are monies that are almost based on monies from 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So we're never really pacing at the same level. And the next slide. So this slide, we wanted to show you that in Duluth, we have our residential equals about 70.23%, and almost 25% is commercial industrial. Okay, so we're going to keep moving on. How are state aid and local levies determined? The authority for school levies. A school district tax levy may be either set by state formula or voter approved. The voter approved is depending on, the operating levy and whatnot. So we are completely set by the state formula. It does take an effect that we still have a operating levy in place for 2 more years. So page 24. So I won't go over each row, but this shows you in each category what our levy is. The only one we see a negative, which the abatement, line number 14, abatement/other general adjustments. That number is strictly tied to any unpaid taxes and any final pupil counts. So that's where those adjustments are made. So that's telling us that we're being directly affected by roughly $360,000 of unpaid taxes. So all that gets figured into these formulas. Next page, please. This is the community education levy. Total gross levy, the dollar difference is $56,437.52. Those levies are based on student counts and set by MDE. So the largest one really is our early childhood levy, which we're seeing a reduction of $54,338.69. But overall, we'll keep going. One more. Thank you. This is our debt. The line 1, the $1,000,007, is our restructure that we did, that we approved, or that was voted on. Line number 2 is the First Street debt. And then line number 3, we had a wonderful reduction of over $2 million, and that is because our bond 2012D was paid off. So that's why we were able to see that. And so the total gross levy for our debt service is over $800,000. So all funds. Okay, so overall, this is the $3,103,363.69. Our general fund is going up. We are seeing a slight reduction of $56,000 in our community education fund, and then our debt service went up $800,000. But due to the fact that that one bond was paid off, that really made a big difference. And let's give you some more information. A little bit further down, please, Anthony, so we could just see that number right there, so everyone can see that. We wanted to show you in the pay 21 levy to the far left, where it has paced throughout the years and where we are at this point for pay 26 levy. It did go up from 21 to 22. It went up a little under $1 million in 23. It went up again nicely in 24, and then in 25, last year it dropped down because we had some pretty big LTFM adjustments, and now we're seeing our increase again.
You just want to explain LTFM, just so everyone
Thank you.
understands. Thank you.
It's long-term facility maintenance, formerly health and safety, formerly deferred maintenance. Thank you. What are the main variables that may cause property tax increases and decreases? So 1, we have changes in market values. 2, we have changes in class rates and history. Number 3, we have market value exclusion, which included the pay 25 credit amount and value range. Number 4 is voter-approved referendums, which we talked about. 5 are state adjustments. For example, the Agricultural 2 School Tax Credit Program. And number 6, new programs authorized or mandated by legislature, which is not always funded, I will have to add too. And then, of course, in there we have long-term facility maintenance the revenue program. So let's go one more. Let's talk about changes in market value. The market values are final and are not subject for the upcoming budget hearings. They were discussed at the local County Board of Review and County Board of Equalization hearing held earlier this year. The final taxable market values may reflect a reduction under the limited value law. If this property is a qualifying homestead, the final taxable market values may exclude improvements which you made to this property. So we want to make that clear to everybody. And then we're just like to give you lots of data for all this. Just keep going. So this one is telling you, or showing us, excuse me, that really overall for the last 10 years, we have been able to maintain 2, 3, 4, 5%. We had an anomaly in '22, but that's when everyone's property was reevaluated. So that went up to 15.652%. It dropped down to 8 in '23, dropped down to 6% in '24, and now we're at 5. So we're showing an average, I did the math, of roughly, it averaged out at 5.14%. So we're able, I'm happy to see that number, that we're able to keep a good average there. We've stayed consistent. And for more fun, this page here shows you that, see in the top where in the yellow, it says 0.00. So this is if you've had no changes to your property. We highlighted residential homestead. So if your house is worth $820,000, if you go across the board there, it would go up $9.80 a year, which is less than 1%. If you go to the next page, to 5.012%, we wanted to show you the same house to the left, and then if we go to the right, the estimated tax increase would be $68.29 a year, which is a little over, it's 6.57%. Next page, I'll give you one more. And this one says, okay, if your house went up 5.892%, that $304,000 home, we go to the far right, we go up $78.47 a year, which is 7.55%. So we gave you 3 scenarios to look at. And then the next page is our resolution. Do you want me to read that resolution, or I don't need to? I don't. Okay.
Yeah, Simone,
You will.
just hold on, sorry, I was reading, I wasn't.
Yeah, sure.
What was the question, Simone?
I just wanted to know if you wanted me to read this resolution.
Oh, I
but
think
it
we're going to
will-
read it later.
Okay,
Yeah, I
thank
think
you.
we're good. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Okay, any comments and questions? That is the property tax hearing.
I have a couple.
Yes, please.
Great. I always enjoy this, and I remember when I was a new parent in the district, not on the board, coming to the Truth in Taxation hearing to better understand how school finance works. And so I just really always enjoy this now as a school board member with more information underneath my belt. But so thank you for all the work that went into this. I just had a couple questions that also might be helpful for the public too. On the pages where you talked about our referendums that we had from 2018 to 2024, where, you know, even when they failed, it was by just a little bit. So it's really, we know the public supports our schools, but unfortunately, they didn't pass. Can you explain, I know all of us as board members know what's unique about school districts and referendums that is different from the city and the county, and can you just share that for the general public to better understand?
Yes, of course. So a city can set their own levy. School districts cannot. It's set by the state of Minnesota, by Minnesota Department of Education. We can give them information as to, what we prepare actuarials, insurance, implicit rates, we provide enrollment, we provide our unemployment costs, and that type of thing. So we send all that information to the Department of Education, and then they go back to the county and see what the property tax rates are. And there are very complex formulas to figure that out. So, for instance, a city can say, well, we know our utility costs are going up at different buildings, so we can, or we want to buy something, so they can set their own levy. We do not have the option of doing that.
Thank you, just again, for clarifying that for the public. I know as board members, we know that. And then my other quick question, and then I'll move on. But I appreciated you highlighting the pages about the bond decisions that were made that really made a difference. And I know just as a board member, I really appreciated when we were educated on making those decisions around the vote for the bond changes. And so I just really wanted to highlight that. And it's great to see how those decisions we made really made a difference. So thank you on that. And then the last comment question was where you went over the $300,000 home. I know when we, what do we know what the average home price in Duluth right now is? I know we've used a figure during our referendum.
That is the figure that was provided, that we researched and found. It used to be 250, then it went to 275, so we landed at 304,820 as an average.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll let anybody else ask some questions.
Member Banks?
Thank you. Can we look at page 5 and page 11 again? More specifically, under the Community Education Fund and that 1.50 percentage, and then I look on page 11, and that the Community Education Fund is 4.18% of the overall budget. Would that 1.5% ever increase over time, or is that pretty standard?
It can, but it would have to be set by the Department of Education.
Okay.
Okay, so that Community Education Fund, it's school readiness, early childhood. We have ECFE in there, and then we have our overall Community Ed Fund for our adult learners, for our student learners, for after-school programming. And that is not something that we as a district could change or affect.
Member Mike Sell?
Thank you so much. I want to make sure I understood something that was said earlier. The miscellaneous local revenue, you explained that as being grants.
Grants, or if we get a grant from St. Louis County for a program, it's all that type of thing. We don't, because we can't classify that as state or federal. I have our auditor listening here, so I have to be careful. So those, we were able to receive a wonderful Check and Connect program and that type of thing. So that's where that number.
So one thing I noticed when I looked at last year's Truth and Taxation report, we were at $4.8 million for that fund. This year, we've been sitting at $8.3 million. So am I right in assuming that we were able to receive an additional $4 million in grants this past year?
Yes, we have, you can call me out on which ones they are. We have the MTSS, that we have a lot of additional grant funds that came through. Without them, I mean, we absolutely need them. They help fund a lot of our programs, and yes, it's accurate.
I just want to thank all the staff and administration that's involved in seeking out those grants, because I know it's a lot
Very
of work
much.
to do.
Yes.
And I think that demonstrates that our district is leaving no stone unturned when it comes to providing quality education to our students and our families.
Thank you, and it's growing. As you can see, it's doubling, it's growing. More and more people are actively seeking grants. We have a grant committee that Assistant Superintendent Bonds chairs, and every grant goes through that process for prior approval, comes to the school board for approval. So, yeah, so we have a really good process, and I think it's only going to continue to grow.
Excellent. The only other point I just wanted to highlight again is that last year, the school district levy went down by 2.86%. And I think we were the only governmental agency in our region that had that happen. And so I just wanted to highlight that, so that the increase this year, just as we look at the overall picture, as we hear, from our staff and our families needing and wanting more, this is going to help us get there, and this is not something that we were able to control. The state and the Minnesota Department of Education tells us what we were able to do. And so I just, again, wanted to highlight that, as has been said before.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Loeffler-Kemp, did you have another question?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Member Lofeld, I
Yeah,
did
let
see.
Member Loeffel go first.
I'm going to step away for a minute. Member, can you?
So I might need help on a page number, but I thought it was an interesting observation or fact that we don't collect the monies for an increase in enrollment until 2 years later. So we can applaud that we are increasing our enrollment. The fact that we can't use that money when obviously tonight we had a lot of speakers asking for the needs and we want to help them. And if you look back 2 years prior, and am I right, CFO, yeah, Simone.
say Simone.
That was one of our lowest enrollments in a while. So the fact that, we want to celebrate higher enrollment, I want our community, and I'm sharing that now this way, is that we are not able to recognize that financial growth, right, auditor that's sitting out in our audience, yeah. And I think our community needs to hear that, and I'm really glad that there's members of our community here tonight that can help share that, because it just is frustrating when we know that the needs are there, but we won't recognize that. But, and I want to say, well, but brighter days will come. I'm an optimist from the day I think was born. I just feel like I've always looked up and known that things can get better. So, but right in my observation about that in actuality, we are living on 2 years ago budget. And I couldn't do that in my household. I really could not. If I had to wait for 2 years to get the increase in funds that I get in on my monthly budget, that would really not help me.
Yeah, and then, take in effect that last year we had a negative 2.86 because we had all those adjustments in the levy, and then we're basing our current financial reality on 2 years from that. So it really makes a big difference. So I don't want to call it catch-up, but we are always catching up. And of course, we always have certain departments that require more programming. Yeah, more needs.
Member Loeffler-Kemp?
Thank you. I agree with Member Lofel. Just, we do have a lot to celebrate with the increase in our enrollment. And we know, of course, in 2020, that kind of period of time around the pandemic impacted school districts all over with lower enrollment for lots of different reasons. But I believe, because I'm an optimist, that we are doing a lot of things well, and we're bringing people into our district and back into our district. So I'm excited for the future, even though we're not able to get the money for it right away. Two additional comments, I guess. One is, can you just review what the egg to school credit, just kind of explain that a little bit, or is that?
It's a very, thank you for asking that question, but it's a very complicated formula,
Okay.
so I don't feel like I can really say it correct. I could find out for you and let you know before the school board meeting ends.
That would be fine.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's fine. And the other one was on page 29, just on the variables that may cause property tax increases and decreases. Number 6 was new programs authorized or mandated by the legislature. Member Lofold and I were just at something about a week or two ago, and I'll share that information with you, but it was on kind of the history of mandates here in Minnesota put on school districts and the increase. And it was really kind of some overwhelming information. But do you want to just share just a few examples of what that might be for number 6, just so
Sure.
the public understands?
For instance, the unemployment, now we have the summer, we offer unemployment to our hourly workers throughout the summer. Now, we have received funds, but that was a certain pot of money that will be going away. That was an interesting situation, too. We had to do a survey 2.5 years ago, what we thought we would get. And if we didn't hit that number, the money they gave us, they'd have to adjust to what we really spent. So the first 2 years were not where we would completely land, but last summer, we hit our goal and then some. So there's a lot of ebb and flow with that. We had the READ Act. We did receive some money, but now we'll be facing Phase 2. Have not heard any language yet on how we're going to fund that. And then, of course, we have starting on January 1st, the Safe and Sick Time, Minnesota Paid Family Leave. I was told to budget for it like it's our unemployment costs, so that remains an unknown to us as well.
And I think that fits in really nicely with our conversation later in our regular school board meeting about our legislative platform, because those are all things that we're working on advocating for: additional READ Act funding, thinking about funding of some of those mandates that are important, but not necessarily fully funded or not funded for continued time. So it's important for us to think about how those things intersect.
Thanks.
Thank you. So can you tell us, I know the ethnic studies mandate starts in the fall. Is that going to have an impact on any
Fall
of
of
this?
26.
26?
I'll have to read up on that. Yes, I have started, I've read some language on it, so yes, it will have an impact,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
And I don't know the dollar amount yet.
Member Lofold?
I just want to mention this just for Simone to kind of maybe address it later, like next month, but in a conversation with Minnesota School Board Association and other school board members across the state, that school board members are a part of earned safe and sick time, that we are considered employees of the district. And so we are then also kind of calculated into what the cost of that will be for the district. Just a side note. So it just kind of, it shocked most of us on that meeting from school board members across the state that we would be considered, that our salaries, they're small, but that we are then into the earned safe and sick time.
Thank you. I will look into it.
Thank you, and seeing no further questions from the board, is this an opportunity for the public, Simone, or? Okay.
Yes.
If we have any
Happy to
public
take
comment or any questions, please come forward. You're welcome. Seeing no public comment, this brings the end the Truth and Taxation hearing for this year. Thank you, Executive Director Zunich.
Thank you.
I'm going to give us about a minute and a half